This is the new Sony 50-150 f2 lens, and it's a great lens for portraits, weddings, and court sports.
That blew me away, but we want to find out if it's the best lens for you. So we're going to compare it up against the Sony 70-200 f2.8 GM Mark II to see if it should replace the spot in the bag of real professionals shooting portraits, events, and sports, but also the Tamron 35-150 f2 to f2.8 that's got a more similar zoom range, but it's a little more of a consumer lens.
It's also a third of the price, so let's see how it measures up. But first we want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Evoto. If you want amazing portraits edited easily, quickly, you want to streamline your workflow while having professional results, you need to check it out. Go to stp.io/Evoto. Use the coupon code TONY15 to get 15% off.
Let's start by shooting some portraits because that's my favorite thing to do with this lens. I just want to show you what 150 f2 does. Check this out. The background just completely disappears. This is like professional portrait prime type bokeh. It's incredible that I can get this with the zoom, but I can also zoom all the way back to 50. So bam, full body shot, tight headshot. And for any professional portrait photographer, that is so powerful to not have to change lenses, to not have to be moving in and out, to be able to get everything quickly, especially if you're shooting events or kids or stuff that moves around a lot. Man, I love the power of more bokeh and still having a zoom. But let's see how this compares against the 70-200 and the Tamron. Honestly, there's no shortage of bokeh with the 70-200, and by the time you get out to 200 f2.8, you're going to see a similar amount of bokeh as the 50-150 does at f2. But anytime you're at 150 or wider, you're going to be able to get a full stop more bokeh with that more expensive f2 zoom. Also, this gathers a stop less light. So in low light situations, that means the other f2 faster zoom is going to give you cleaner images. But let's see how the 35-150 does. Wow, first with this lens, I can actually get full body shots because it goes back to 35. But if I zoom in, as much as I love the 50-150 for its zoom range, 35-150 is really even more perfect for portraits because 35 is like perfect for group shots and stuff. 150 is perfect for headshots. So this Tamron really covers that portrait range even better. But by the time you zoom to 150 or even 75 millimeters, it's an f2.8 lens. So it is a full stop slower, so you will get less bokeh, but it's also so much cheaper. Tough choice. It's easy to take hundreds of pictures during a portrait shoot and you don't want to spend hours editing them all. Evoto allows you to get perfect edits in just a couple of minutes.
Look what a huge difference it makes. Evoto 4.3 adds the smooth and luminous hair feature, adding shine and eliminating flyaways. I just click sync to apply these edits to the entire photo shoot, export the JPEGs, and I'm done. With Evoto 4.3, you can now smooth body skin with just a few clicks too. You and your client can see the edits in real time when you tether your camera to a computer or now even an iPad. If your client has tattoos they wish they didn't, remove them. I've written books on Photoshop and that would have taken days of editing.
So check it out. You can do it for free. Go to stp.io/Evoto. Use the coupon code TONY15 to get 15% off. Next, we're going to be testing how each lens would do with sports. So we're going to be testing the frames per second and the autofocus to see how well the autofocus works when I'm moving around. Now, I'm not actually doing a sport, but I'll try to move around. Weird.
Okay, go do sports.
Okay. Wow, that sounds really fast. Well, from my perspective, all those seem great.
The two Sony lenses performed equally well. Like they both maxed out our A1's 30 frames per second, and I'm confident they both max out the A9 Mark III's 120 frames per second. But there is a difference. The 50-150 is f2. It's gathering a full stop more light. And that won't really make a difference in outdoor sports like this, but if you're shooting courtside at a basketball or volleyball game indoors, that full stop of light is going to produce cleaner images with more background separation. So they're just going to look better. On the other hand, the 70-200 can take a teleconverter. So for big field sports like American football, soccer, that extra 1.4 teleconverter, that's how I shoot them because you need that extra range. So 50-150 better indoors, 70-200 better outdoors. The Tamron 35-150.
Yeah, I like that there's more versatility with the zooming. If you're at a close sport like basketball, you can go to 35 and shoot wider, get more of the teammates, but the frames per second on the Sony is going to be limited, so you're not going to get that 30 frames per second.
It's limited to 15 frames per second no matter which camera you have. And if you are a pro shooting, you're going to miss that. But if you're not shooting with an A1 or an A9 Mark III, it won't make any difference. I did find the focusing speed and accuracy on the Tamron was slower than the two Sony lenses, even within that 15 frames per second. And that's always my experience with third-party lenses.
But it's like a third of the price.
Yeah, that really trumps everything.
All right, so you might miss a few shots. You know, if it's just your kid's basketball game, then you can use that extra money and invest it and send them to college, probably. That kid liked my college joke. Let's talk about sharpness. The 50 to 150 is sharper than the Tamron at every focal length.
These 240 megapixel pixel shift files exaggerate the sharpness differences, plus I zoomed way in. The Tamron is sharp, but the Sony is definitely sharper.
When we compare the 50 to 150 to the 70 to 200, this is where things get a little bit interesting. The 50 to 150 is sharper at 50, 150, and then at 200 millimeters f2.8. Cropped, it becomes equal to the 70 to 200. So even cropped, it's a sharp lens. The 70 to 200 is a little bit sharper at 200 f2.8, but it's hardly a noticeable difference in real world applications. This is using test charts that we saw this difference. Why we mentioned that it's as sharp cropped is because you don't have to worry about not having that extra zoom reach at 200 millimeters like the 70 to 200 has. You can simply crop this to look like it's 200 millimeters and you're not going to lose a ton of resolution.
Our contrast test measures the ability to shoot directly into light, which is really important in sports and portraits when the sun might be in the background, especially if you're shooting at sunrise or sunset.
Here, the winner was the new 50 to 150 f2 when I shut it down to f2.8. It outperformed the 70 to 200 by just a little bit.
The loser was definitely the Tamron, which showed significantly more flaring than either of the two Sony lenses, kind of to be expected because that's more of a consumer grade lens and professional lenses really shine in areas like contrast.
What about macro? Well, all of the lenses performed best at their widest angle, but the 70 to 200 was the best macro option, followed by the 50 to 150 and the Tamron.
For our final test, we tested bokeh, which is the quality of the out of focus light. You know, those big, beautiful bokeh balls that you get in the background of portraits. That's kind of important. And here the Tamron definitely lost. Because it's only 150 f2.8, the bokeh balls were a little bit smaller, but also they weren't quite as smooth as the two Sony GM lenses. Between the two Sony lenses, it's pretty much a tie. I could not tell any difference in quality. They're both essentially perfect bokeh, so a tie between the two Sonys.
So is the new 50 to 150 for you? Well, if you want a super fast lens with a versatile range of focal lengths, it's basically like the speed of primes with the versatility of a zoom while retaining sharpness. But the price is really expensive. So if it's worth it to you, then yeah, go for it.
I think it's totally worth it for people shooting courtside, sports especially, but also like wedding photographers. And as a portrait photographer, I really want it. I don't know if I'll spend almost $4,000 on it, but I want it.
I think that the Sony 70 to 200 is a great option, and you can use a teleconverter on it, which gives you more versatility and more reach. So if you're interested in longer sports, maybe football or soccer, it's going to be a good option. And also if you're dabbling in wildlife photography, that teleconverter is going to help you do that.
The Tamron here is great, and it's so much less expensive. Is it as sharp? No. Is it as fast at the long end? No, it's a stop slower. But it's still really good and a good compromise at a much lower price. So in the comments down below, tell us what you think. Don't forget to subscribe and like for more free tutorials. And of course, check out our sponsor, Evoto. Evoto makes processing portraits so much easier. In like just a few clicks, you can have professionally edited portraits. You can do your whole wedding in just a couple of minutes, and it looks like you spent days working on it.
Yeah, you can actually save your edits as a preset and just apply it on all of your pictures and individually assign people so it will edit everyone differently. It's really amazing. You can try it out. They give you free credit, so there's nothing to lose. So go to sdp.io/Evoto and use the coupon code TONY for a discount.
Thanks, Evoto.